Have you ever cooked a large meal, placed the leftovers in the refrigerator, and reheated them the next day without giving it a second thought? If so, you're certainly not alone. For many families, reheating leftovers is a normal part of everyday life. It saves time, reduces food waste, and can make healthy eating more convenient. But here's something many people don't realize. The biggest problem often isn't reheating the food itself, it's how the food was stored before it was reheated. Certain foods require extra care because harmful bacteria can multiply if they're left at room temperature for too long or if they aren't reheated properly. This becomes especially important after the age of 60. As we get older, our immune systems naturally change, making older adults more vulnerable to foodborne illnesses that younger people might recover from more easily. The good news? Most food safety problems can be prevented with a few simple habits. Today, we'll explore 6 foods that deserve extra attention when reheating, explain why they matter, and show you the safest way to enjoy leftovers. And be sure to stay until the end because we'll also share 7 golden rules for reheating leftovers safely, tips every household should know. Let's get started. Before we begin our countdown, let's understand why food safety deserves special attention as we age. Our immune system plays a vital role in protecting us from bacteria, viruses, and other harmful microorganisms. As people grow older, the immune response often becomes less effective. At the same time, many older adults also live with conditions such as diabetes, kidney disease, heart disease, or take medications that may further affect immunity. This means that food poisoning can sometimes cause more serious illness in older adults than in younger individuals. Fortunately, many cases can be prevented. Simple habits such as refrigerating leftovers promptly, storing food correctly, and reheating it thoroughly can make a significant difference. Now let's begin with the first food on today's list. Rice surprises many people. After all, it looks harmless. But cooked rice is one of the foods that food safety experts frequently mention. Why? Because uncooked rice can naturally contain spores of a bacterium called Bacillus cereus. These spores can survive the cooking process. If cooked rice is left sitting at room temperature for several hours, those spores may grow into bacteria that can produce toxins. Unfortunately, some of these toxins are not destroyed by reheating. That's why the real problem isn't reheating the rice. It's allowing cooked rice to remain at room temperature for too long. The safest approach is simple. After serving your meal, cool leftover rice as soon as practical. Place it into shallow containers and refrigerate it within about 2 hours, or within 1 hour if the weather is very hot. When you're ready to eat it again, reheat the rice until it's steaming hot all the way through. Avoid repeatedly reheating the same batch. Instead, only reheat the portion you plan to eat. These small habits can greatly reduce food safety risks. Now let's move to another everyday favorite. Potatoes are one of the world's most popular foods. Mashed potatoes, baked potatoes, roasted potatoes, potato soup. They're nutritious, filling, and incredibly versatile. But cooked potatoes also need proper handling. Just like rice, potatoes should not sit at room temperature for extended periods. Warm temperatures create conditions that allow bacteria to multiply. Once cooked, potatoes should be cooled and refrigerated promptly. Store them in clean containers with tight-fitting lids. When reheating, make sure the potatoes become thoroughly hot throughout. Microwaves sometimes heat unevenly. For that reason, stir mashed potatoes halfway through reheating whenever possible. If reheating baked potatoes, rotate them so all sides heat evenly. Another point worth remembering is quality. Repeated reheating can change the texture of potatoes, making them dry or rubbery. Whenever practical, reheat only what you'll actually eat. And if leftovers develop an unusual smell, color, or appearance, it's safest to discard them. When in doubt, throw it out. Now let's move to a food many people enjoy for breakfast. Eggs are among the most nutritious foods available. They're an excellent source of protein, vitamins, and important minerals. Fortunately, reheating cooked eggs is generally safe if they've been stored properly. However, there are a few things to keep in mind. Egg dishes such as scrambled eggs, omelets, quiches, breakfast casseroles, or egg sandwiches should be refrigerated promptly after cooking. Leaving them on the kitchen counter for several hours increases the chance that bacteria can multiply. When reheating eggs, heat them thoroughly until they're hot all the way through. Avoid eating partially warmed egg dishes that still contain cold spots. Microwave ovens can heat unevenly, so stirring scrambled eggs or rotating dishes during reheating helps distribute heat more evenly. Another consideration is quality. Eggs tend to become rubbery or dry when reheated repeatedly. For this reason, it's usually best to reheat them only once. If you're preparing meals ahead of time, divide them into individual portions before refrigerating. That way, you only reheat the amount you plan to eat. Remember, proper refrigeration is the most important step. Reheating does not undo the effects of poor food storage. So far, we've covered rice, potatoes, and eggs. But the next foods on our list may surprise you even more because they involve protein-rich foods that require extra care to reduce the risk of foodborne illness. So far, we've discussed 3 foods that deserve extra attention when reheating: cooked rice, potatoes, eggs. One important message has already become clear. In many cases, the biggest food safety risk isn't reheating the food, it's leaving cooked food at room temperature for too long before refrigerating it. Now let's continue with food number 3. Mushrooms are delicious, versatile, and naturally rich in nutrients such as B vitamins, selenium, potassium, and antioxidants. They're commonly added to soups, omelets, pasta dishes, stir-fries, and salads. So why do mushrooms appear on so many don't reheat lists? The truth is a little more nuanced. Contrary to popular myths, reheating mushrooms is not automatically dangerous. The real concerns involve proper storage and food quality. Because mushrooms contain a high amount of moisture, they can spoil relatively quickly if left at room temperature. After cooking, mushrooms should be cooled promptly and refrigerated within about 2 hours. When reheating, heat them until they are steaming hot throughout. Many people also notice that mushrooms change texture after reheating. They may become softer, release additional moisture, or lose some of their original flavor. For this reason, many chefs recommend cooking only the amount you plan to eat or reheating mushrooms just once. If leftover mushrooms develop an unpleasant odor, slimy texture, or unusual appearance, they should be discarded. Never rely only on taste to determine whether food is safe. When in doubt, it's better to throw questionable leftovers away. Now let's move to one of the most important foods on today's list. Chicken is one of the most commonly consumed proteins in the world. It's nutritious, affordable, and a staple in many households. However, it also requires careful handling. Raw chicken can naturally carry bacteria such as Salmonella and Campylobacter. Proper cooking destroys these bacteria, but safe handling doesn't stop there. Once chicken has been cooked, it should not remain at room temperature for extended periods. Instead, refrigerate leftovers promptly in shallow containers. When you're ready to enjoy them again, reheat the chicken thoroughly. Food safety experts generally recommend reheating leftovers to an internal temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit 74 degrees Celsius. If possible, use a food thermometer rather than guessing. One challenge with microwave ovens is uneven heating. The outside may feel hot while the center remains cooler. To improve safety, cut larger pieces into smaller portions. Stir dishes halfway through reheating when possible. Rotate the container. Allow food to rest for a minute after microwaving so heat can distribute more evenly. Another question many viewers ask is whether chicken can be reheated more than once. While guidelines vary, repeatedly cooling and reheating food increases opportunities for bacterial growth if proper handling isn't maintained. For this reason, it's usually best to reheat only the amount you plan to eat. If you frequently cook large batches, consider dividing leftovers into individual meal-sized containers before refrigerating them. This makes reheating easier and reduces unnecessary waste. By now, you may have noticed that many of these foods share the same concern. The issue isn't usually the microwave. The issue is time and temperature. Food safety experts often refer to the range between 40 degrees Fahrenheit and 140 degrees Fahrenheit, for degrees Celsius to 60 degrees Celsius, as the temperature danger zone. Within this range, many bacteria can multiply rapidly. The longer cooked food remains in this temperature range, the greater the opportunity for bacteria to grow. That's why experts recommend refrigerating leftovers within 2 hours after cooking, or within 1 hour if the surrounding temperature is above 90 degrees Fahrenheit 32 degrees Celsius, such as during hot summer weather. A simple habit of putting leftovers away promptly can greatly reduce food safety risks. Safe reheating actually begins before food ever reaches the microwave. Here are a few habits that make a big difference. Large containers cool slowly. Shallow containers allow food to cool more quickly, helping it reach refrigerator temperatures sooner. Many people forget when food was prepared. Cold air needs space to circulate. A refrigerator packed too tightly may not cool foods efficiently. Food safety agencies generally recommend keeping your refrigerator at 40 degrees Fahrenheit for degrees Celsius or below. A simple refrigerator thermometer can help you monitor this. If you don't expect to eat leftovers within several days, freezing them is often the safer option. Frozen foods maintain quality longer and reduce waste. Many people recover from mild food poisoning after several uncomfortable days. For older adults, however, the situation can sometimes be more serious. Age-related changes in the immune system can make infections harder to fight. In addition, dehydration caused by vomiting or diarrhea may become more dangerous with age. People living with conditions such as diabetes, kidney disease, heart disease, cancer, liver disease, or those taking medications that affect immunity may face higher risks from foodborne illness. That's why safe food handling isn't about fear. It's about prevention. Fortunately, the steps are straightforward. Store food promptly. Keep it cold. Reheat it thoroughly. Discard leftovers that look or smell suspicious. These habits help protect both you and your family. We've now covered 5 foods that require extra care when reheating. But one food remains. It's highly nutritious, rich in protein and healthy fats, yet it's also one of the most perishable foods in your refrigerator. If not handled properly, it can spoil quickly. So far, we've discussed 5 foods that deserve extra care when reheating. Cooked rice, potatoes, eggs, mushrooms, chicken. If you've been watching from the beginning, you've probably noticed an important theme. The biggest food safety mistake isn't usually reheating leftovers, it's storing them incorrectly before reheating. Now let's reveal the final food on today's list. Seafood is one of the healthiest sources of protein you can include in your diet. Fish such as salmon, sardines, trout, and mackerel are rich in high-quality protein and heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids. Shellfish like shrimp and scallops can also be nutritious when prepared safely. However, seafood is also one of the most perishable foods in your refrigerator. Because of its delicate nature, it can spoil faster than many other leftovers if it isn't handled correctly. Fresh fish and shellfish naturally contain bacteria. When seafood is cooked properly, those bacteria are destroyed. But if cooked seafood sits at room temperature for too long, bacteria can begin multiplying again. Unlike some foods, spoiled seafood doesn't always look or smell obviously bad in the early stages. That's why following safe storage guidelines is so important after cooking seafood. Refrigerate it within 2 hours of cooking. If the weather is above 90 degrees Fahrenheit 32 degrees Celsius, refrigerate it within 1 hour. Store it in a clean, airtight container. Keep your refrigerator at 40 degrees Fahrenheit for degrees Celsius or below when reheating seafood. Heat it until it's steaming hot all the way through. Stir soups or seafood stews during reheating. Rotate dishes in the microwave to reduce cold spots. Reheat only the amount you plan to eat. Repeatedly cooling and reheating seafood isn't recommended because it can reduce both quality and food safety. If you're unsure whether seafood has been stored properly, it's always safer to throw it away than risk food poisoning. Remember, no meal is worth risking your health. Now that we've covered all 6 foods, let's review 7 simple habits that can help make every leftover meal safer. Don't leave cooked food sitting on the kitchen counter for hours. Aim to refrigerate leftovers within 2 hours after cooking. The sooner food is cooled, the less opportunity bacteria have to multiply. Large pots and deep containers cool slowly. Instead, divide leftovers into smaller, shallow containers. This helps food cool more quickly and evenly inside the refrigerator. Many people make the mistake of eating food that's warm on the outside but still cool in the center. Whenever possible, stir food halfway through reheating. Rotate microwave dishes. Allow food to rest for 1 minute after heating. For many leftovers, the recommended internal temperature is 165 degrees Fahrenheit, 74 degrees Celsius. A food thermometer is one of the easiest ways to confirm this. Every time food is cooled and reheated, there's another opportunity for bacteria to grow if it isn't handled correctly. Instead of reheating the entire container repeatedly, remove only the portion you plan to eat. Leave the remaining leftovers refrigerated. Your refrigerator should stay at 40 degrees Fahrenheit for degrees Celsius or below. A simple refrigerator thermometer can help you verify that it's maintaining a safe temperature. This is especially important during summer or after power outages. Many people hate wasting food. That's understandable. But keeping questionable leftovers can cost much more than replacing a meal. Discard food if it develops an unusual odor. It becomes slimy. Mold appears. The color changes significantly. You can't remember when it was cooked. The old saying still holds true. When in doubt, throw it out. One of the easiest ways to improve food safety is meal planning. After cooking, divide meals into individual portions. Label containers with the date. Refrigerate or freeze them promptly. This makes reheating easier, reduces waste, and helps prevent leftovers from being forgotten in the back of the refrigerator. Let's quickly review today's 6 foods. Cool quickly, refrigerate promptly, and reheat until steaming hot. Store properly, avoid leaving them at room temperature, and heat thoroughly. Refrigerate promptly and reheat evenly to avoid cold spots. The main concern is proper storage and freshness, not reheating itself. Reheat thoroughly to a safe temperature and avoid reheating the same portion multiple times. Highly nutritious but also highly perishable. Refrigerate quickly, reheat thoroughly, and discard if you're unsure about its safety. Remember, reheating leftovers is not inherently dangerous. In most cases, the real key is safe handling from the moment cooking is finished. By following these simple habits, you can continue enjoying leftovers while reducing the risk of foodborne illness. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more evidence-based videos on healthy aging, heart health, kidney health, diabetes, nutrition, medication safety, and living well after 60. We'd love to hear from you. Which of these 6 foods surprised you the most? Do you have a food safety tip that's worked well in your home? Share it in the comments below. Your experience may help other viewers stay safe and healthy. And if you know someone who regularly cooks large meals or relies on leftovers, consider sharing this video with them. It could help them avoid common food safety mistakes. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.